Thank you. Yeah, I would like to kind of just dwell on your relationship to the material. For Avinash, it's as you said, it's like very personal material you're deriving from your own life, and uh, and it's basically your childhood, your relationship to your father, especially. And um, does this closeness to the subject matter have certain advantages or disadvantages? Sometimes when things are too close, you kind of lose sense of perspective. Like as you said, there are things that you thought were normal, people were like overwhelmed that it wasn't normal for them, and probably vice versa. So does your intimacy with the subject matter kind of create some challenges?
So when I started writing, there was definitely anger. There was a lot of anger that was there. But what also happened is because I've also grown up, and I'm also running a small company where we do ad films and stuff. So you also deal with people. You also have people working in the company, and you'll have to provide for them and stuff. So what also happened is every time I kept coming back to the material, I also thought, if I have to shut this company and tell my employees to just go away, one, I'll feel like a failure. And if I have to go and take up a job and say start from probably the like the basics of pay or whatever, because I don't have technically much experience, I don't think I'll be able to handle that failure. So this kind of thought came to me. So when this thought came to me, it also helped me, and I also told myself that, see, when you're writing a screen, when you're writing a script, if even if it is from the children's point of view, it cannot make somebody black or white. It has to always be in the gray area where let the audience decide whether this man has, what is this man? Is he a good man or is he a bad man? Because I am also in that situation. So because I am also in the situation, because I feel a certain way about what happened, but as I'm growing older, I also understand why it would have happened. So these conflicting thoughts help me kind of find a balance where certain things I wanted to say it the way it has to be told. Like if you guys have seen the film, the first introduction of the father, with the thunder and lightning, that is how I always used to feel. It was not that he was necessarily sitting like that, but the thought that my father is come back home will, I just get tormented. So thunder lightning was a form of showing that torment for me. At the same time, the first time when the kid is slapped, those are some things which I said I will not take it out, because if I take that out, there is no story at all. At the same time, I also didn't want to make him like a very dark character, because at that point, as a child, I probably would have felt that he's the darkest person I've met. That is not the reality, because you always have to look through the other person's point of view to understand and give like a almost balanced narrative. So even though the material was very close to me, I was very conscious that it has to have an objective, a sense of objectivity, not exactly objective, but a sense of objectivity in the entire narrative. So that is one. And see, I don't like children talking like adults. When you see other films, you see children talking in the adult slangs. So what happens is when you write dialogues, you write your dialogues as someone from my age group, right? And it'll not work. So that was a very conscious choice, and that basically took over my entire narrative. And one more thing which came into my senses was that me and my brothers never really had conversations. It was always something silly. We never ever spoke about anything at all. So I said, let the children also be that way. They're just talking random stuff, saying, get Casper, get this, ten mitai sapadu, what, all those things, as opposed to having deep conversations. So I think because it was very personal material, I didn't have a struggle writing it. It was quite easy to write it. But these conscious choices were like definitely always on top, so that I don't miss out on that, and I don't make a one-sided film.
Thank you. Akshay, I mean, Mr. Zende is such an overpowering personality. Even at the age of 82, he can just like hijack the conversation. That's the impression I get watching the film. So I wanted to, I mean, you also mentioned that you were shooting and you didn't know where you were going until at the end of the process. So, and also, I also come from a different point of view in terms of, I mean, every time that we hear in the news of some custodial torture or something, we always blame the films about films glorifying cops and so on. So for you approaching Mr. Zende as a cop, did you have to consciously create a distance or try to kind of give a shape to where he was taking the conversations to, or did you choose to just submit yourself to wherever he was kind of taking, I mean, his self image?
See, I discovered Mr. Jinde with the film. So it was not that I had any perception about him, because then I don't think so it would have been. I wanted to keep the film very honest. There is, I mean, I've been speaking to people and they say, oh, it's a documentary. So a lot of people don't want to watch documentary in India, because I feel it's how they have, how they have been perceived. So because I'm not a documentary filmmaker, I wanted to make it really connecting to the people, because I feel it's, and also if you see the end of the film, it doesn't end with his police work. Uh, it's kept purposefully like that, because it's not about him. He was a policeman for 40 years, but the film speaks about his 82 years life. Also, I think so. More than him as a cop, I think so. Him being a human being was really important. I wanted to really highlight that point when, when there's a lot of negativity around. To have a person who's, who really loves to give selflessly is what I really liked. And him being a cop, because we always have a different perception of a cop, so it started trying to figure out how did he catch Charles. But I actually remembered it, once the film was made, that oh, there was Charles also. So uh, so yeah, I mean, I just see, I think for me filmmaking is all about characters. I always remember characters in films, and Jende for me it was that character which attracted me. I explored that character as much as I could, and I'm presenting it to the to everyone as a film. So yeah, I mean, that's the idea of the film.
Prashant, in contrast, your film is fiction and you are narrating the film largely through the eyes of a teenage girl, and which is very different from your own position as like a male filmmaker and so on. So, does it um, pose a challenge when you're trying to develop a film through the eyes of a person which is very different? I mean, who has a very different social position, or all characters like for a filmmaker like just the same?
So I think in this particular film, the heavy lifting was already done by Indu's script, and it was her memories of almost being at that age and facing all those things. But again, I think even when you say it's very different from say Zende, one of the things I try to do with my filmmaking is that I try as much as possible to be an objective observer and not uh, get into the psyche or get into the head of characters. And I think it's a position I'm most comfortable with. If you look at the my first film and this, so I've tried to be more close to the characters in terms of close-ups and all those stuff, but still I maintain the position of that objective observer. So that is probably a way of copying out of that difficult thing of being looking from those characters perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more of the feeling of uh, the general empathy you have for people, how you see people. All those things might be making some. So I mean, I'm usually when people say ask something like this, I'm reminded of something I read long back when I was a kid in an interview with Maniratnam. I think Manisha Koirala asked. I mean, people are asking him questions, and Manisha Koirala asked him, where does this sensitivity come from? So he said something very interesting. He said, uh, if it's not in the seed, it won't be in the tree. So then it just really impressed me. I don't know how I'll be some 12 or 13-year-old, uh, and I tried to have it in the seed. I tried to develop that, and I think that's paying off in some way.
Uh, I want to dwell on the places that your films unfold in. Avinash, your film is a period film set in Ooty, mostly in Ooty, but the towns around Ooty as well. And there's a lot of location shooting. Did you kind of make a choice to kind of not recreate period details and let the location be as it is, or did you want to were you insistent that like no, this is how I lived it, and like what was your approach to the locations that are found in this film?
So I don't think I could have made this in any other place because one, I really love Ooty. See, it's always been my dream to shoot in Ooty. So whatever would have happened, I would have found a way out of it. Uh, See, I actually went to the real location. This actually happened. Like from where the film is being shot, it is about 3 kilometers away. But I couldn't find the exact houses there, and my house is still there. I mean, my then house is still there, but it is completely ruined and stuff, and completely developed. Too many guest houses and stuff. So that was very disappointing because that was not the place I wanted to go back to. But what happened was, luckily, we kind of found a very old bungalow which has been there for I think about 60 years and they have not touched anything. So the moment I walked into the house, I felt like I love it because whatever I see here is ruined and it's also very old.